These are the crankshaft shims, which I was talking about. Now, since this shaft is a little longer than the stock shaft, what you need is to put 3 of these shims, and there are 3 of them together. Don't look at my fingernails. I'm a painter, okay? Give me a break. They will fit right on here, and they go right here, right there. All you'll need is about 3. That's all I use, is about 3. And then your ramp plate goes right here, and then your variator, and then your driven face. Also, when you take your halves apart, the crankshaft or the engine body halves, you'll need to get new seals right here and here, and these are what they look like. They have a little rubber band, not a rubber band, but they have a steel coil that goes around the inside. What's very important about the seals is that on the variator side over here, it's not as important, but the engine is an air pump and it has to be sealed. But on the other side, it's very important because right here is where the alternator sits. And this is the seal. And seals do wear out. These rubber seals do wear out. What happens is small amounts of oil will leak. The oil and gas will leak through this bad seal, and they'll drip down here and they get on the windings of the alternator and the flywheel. Well, what that does, and I found out the hard way, is at high speeds your engine won't create electricity, or you'll stutter and you'll stop and wonder what the heck's going on. And the only real way to tell if it's leaking, if you have your motor, is to take off your fan cover. And what you want to do is you want to go down here and take a real close look and see if there's anything there. There should be no oil, no anything on this side. This had some water on it, but if you take your finger and you go up underneath here, when your engine's in the bike and you feel oil right here, your seal is gone. That means that oil is all up in here on your windings, and you're not getting the spark that you need because it's not producing electricity. The next thing we have to look at is your DIO crank is going to be wider than the stock crank. Therefore, we have to take off about 2 millimeters off of this outside right here, off of this inside crankcase galley, as I call it. Galley like the interior of a ship. And what an expert will do is put this on a lathe, and he'll take a milling bit and he will take off the exact amount that you need. Well, I'll tell you what, if I had a $5,000 lathe, I could do that. Plus, if I knew how to do it, I would use it. But I've done these by hand. I've done 2 or 3 stroker engines by hand, and it seems to work out pretty good. Now, the way I do it is I will take a set of, first I will start to use my Dremel and probably a coarse grit sandpaper barrel, and I'll start taking off aluminum. And I use a little bit of water, or I'll use a little bit of cleaning fluid right over here, so that it makes the paper roll run better. Now, for up to a 50 millimeter crank like this one, we need to work on the insides here and here. But if you're going to go with a cylinder bigger than 98 cc's, say you want to do 107 cc or 114, the cylinder is larger and the cylinder skirts will fit here and here, and they have to be honed out. You can tell right here, this area right here went straight up, okay, and you can see where I have carved out about a millimeter and a half on this side to accept the bigger cylinder. The same goes with here. This is a little trickier to do, and we're not going to get into that, because on this motor I'm not going to use more bigger than a 98 cc cylinder. And even if you have this cut out, it's not going to hurt putting a smaller cylinder in. So I start working on the race here, or the crank galley. Well, one thing you do not want to do is you do not, these are pressed in bearing races right here. You can see how smooth that is. You do not want to get in and hurt those at all. All you want to do is work on the outside, and right up in here, this is the face half. This has to be a solid seal. So you do not want to nick or sand that at all on either side.